You know the final score. Now listen to the NFL podcast that tells you why it happened.
Do they have a skill or trait that is going to allow them to survive?
Dan Orlovsky, Scott Pioli, and me, Bob Wischusen. We're tape heads, going inside the coaching tape and giving fans the answers.
Regardless of what the hierarchy is, folks need to be servants to the head coach.
Listen to Tape Heads on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know what they say about small towns. One century is the same as the next.
Where am I?
This is the township of Dyrebrook.
Oh, sure. You might think you're just visiting some old-time picture postcard New England fishing town.
Everyone has bad dreams in Dyrebrook.
13 Days of Halloween, The Sea is available now. Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
The Real-Time Crime Podcast is for true fans of true crime. Join Leah Lamar and Teddy Mellencamp for an iHeartRadio original podcast dedicated to armchair detectives. Embark on a quest to unravel unsolved mysteries and delve into current criminal trials in real time.
Why do I obsess over true crime? It's because I need to know every detail, because they say that the devil's in the details.
Listen to Real-Time Crime on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is the Ron Flatter Racing Pod via vsin.com, a weekly digest for horse fans and horse players with guests from around the racing world. Sponsored by First Bet. Now from Louisville, Kentucky, here's Ron Flatter.
And here is the first show of our 5th season of the RFRP. And other than our opening and closing themes, we'll have new music that you'll hear throughout, courtesy of our friends at Storyblocks, whom we pay for licensed royalty-free songs. And if you have a podcast, I might recommend them to you. Another long podcast. When you see that time tick into place, I know you're tempted to go, 1.5 speed, double speed. I hope you're doing it at normal speed and we can keep you company here for the next 90 minutes or so. They're not going to get any shorter before the Breeders' Cup. And the Breeders' Cup is on our mind and on the minds of trainers Mark Cassie and Wayne Catalano. Between them, they have 5 horses going into the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar a week from Friday and Saturday. Mark has 4, Wayne has 1, and we'll see if they can't add to their win totals in the Breeders' Cup. Some terrific information from Jeremy Plonk coming up. He's going to be on most of the podcast. And we got together right after pre-entries were put together by the Breeders' Cup on Wednesday. That evening, we started talking about broad brushstrokes, turf racing, and the 2-year-olds, and the classic. And oh my goodness, did Jeremy have some good information? I would strongly urge you maybe to even slow down the speed of the podcast so you can take notes. Our Las Vegas handicapper bookmaker today, Johnny Avello of DraftKings Sportsbook, who will tell us not only about a couple races that he has his eyes on at Keeneland on Saturday, but an event he has going on next weekend in North Jersey that doesn't have to do with the Breeders' Cup, but you'll still be interested. And I'll have a comment later on the passing of 2 well-known racing personalities this past week. $10. You ever see money lying on the ground? And as people use cash less now, that is becoming a less frequent rarity. I remember I had that happen. I found a 20 in Central Park, and when I picked it up, I kept thinking, all right, when's the cop going to show up? No risk here. Get $10 just for signing up for your new account at First Bet. And even before you start winning, the First Bet app keeps on giving. Every time you bet $100 in the first 30 days of your new account, you get 10% back. So if you bet $100, you get $10 back. Bet $5,000, get $500 back, all when you use the promo code Vegas500. Talk about a way to cut down on the takeout, right? And then there's the object of the game, and that's winning bets. The First Bet app has the tools to make you a better, more efficient horse player. Download it to your Android or your iPhone or your iPad, and if you are a beginner, Use the artificial intelligence in the app and have it work for you and recommend key horses. If you're a seasoned player, you can swipe the app with a circle of your finger and use the angles you want to emphasize and let it do the work for you. It is that easy. Go to first.com/bet, 1st.com/bet. When you do, use the promo code VEGAS500, VEGAS500. Get the $10 for signing up and start building your 10% bonus. First.com/bet, promo code VEGAS500. Next week, I fly out to California on Monday, and not as easy as it was from Las Vegas when I just got in the car and drove, or even flew from McCarran to Lindbergh. No nonstop flights from Louisville to San Diego, or Lexington to San Diego, or Cincinnati to San Diego, or anywhere to San Diego, it seems. So I'm going to drive up to Indianapolis and fly to Los Angeles, and then take Amtrak to San Diego, where a car awaits me. And even with all that, even with the, Indy to LA to San Diego and the Amtrak and all, it's still faster than the layovers would have taken. The minimum amount of time to get from Louisville to San Diego, just if you're going airplanes, is 8 hours with at least one switch. I don't want to do that. I'm getting too old for it. Wednesday, mark this down, that's the day we post our Handicappers podcast. If you subscribe, free, it will pop into your inbox. Johnny will be along. So will Chris Andrews, Dwayne Colucci, and Vinny Magliulo, our usual crew, and we'll get their thoughts on all 14 Breeders' Cup races. And then next Friday, Jeff Siegel and Zoe Cadman from XBTV will be aboard with their thoughts about Del Mar, and we'll also get some interviews with trainers and jockeys and owners, and maybe even celebrities who we run into next week. In 2 weeks, Ed DeRosa will be with us. And by us, I mean not only this podcast, but us at Horse Racing Nation. He's leaving Churchill Downs after 10 years there on the TV feeds and in marketing, and he'll come to work for our team at HRN, doing marketing and handicapping. I mean, that's really his wheelhouse. There's been a lot of social media curiosity about this move, so I'll ask him from the informed point of view as managing editor of HRN. I've actually known about this for a while. Not a big geographic move for Ed. I don't think he's going to be able to write down moving expenses, if that's even still allowable from the IRS. From Central Avenue in Louisville to West Main Street downtown, that's like 10 minutes. Or on Derby Day, 2 hours. And actually, that particular podcast will be recorded in advance because I'll be going on vacation right after the Breeders' Cup. I have some friends in San Diego who I have known most of my life and most of theirs. And they have a beach house on the Baja coast in Mexico. And they have been begging me, I think for like 20 years, to come down, come down, stay, come down. So I figure I'm not getting any younger. I better say yes if I'm going to enjoy this. So we're going to do that before we're all too old to go there. Right back, we have Jeremy Plonk. He's next, and we recorded, as I mentioned, on Wednesday evening. And then after that, conversations we recorded with Wayne Catalano and Mark Cassie. I should note, by the way, with Wayne and then later with Johnny Avello, just so I can be ethically correct here. I forgot to pick up my microphone to record my questions. It sounded something like this. Pick up the microphone. Yeah. So I recreated the questions listening to the hollow recording I had already made so that you don't have to hear them sounding like this. Okay. So understand they are recreates for all of the Johnny interview and most of the Wayne interview. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I got a real good mistake I made during the Mark interview. So see, you can take notes here and go, aha, multiple times during the course of this podcast. But Jeremy, we got all that right. And that's coming up next. Settle in and relax and enjoy the RFRP.
Stories that come directly from the stables, the track, and even the betting window. You get them here on the Ron Flatter Racing Pod via vsin.com. Sponsored by First Bet.
From the lovely Poconos, where I imagine the autumn colors must be beautiful right now, Jeremy Plunk joining us from XBTV. How is it up there in Northeast Pennsylvania?
Oh, it is fantastic. The fall foliage is pushed back a little late this year, but it is absolutely beautiful. And, you know, they say you can't have a Breeders' Cup in the Northeast, but I think we would handle one this year. It's a pretty lovely time of year, and a little bit of an Indian summer this year is pushed into the fall. So it's wonderful here, but it doesn't get any better in Del Mar weather-wise. We're not going to make that prop bet.
Well, or so we think. I mean, then again, we saw Southern California last weekend, and we saw the football game up in Northern California, which had the same weather as Southern California, and it looked like they were going to have the Arcs. We were talking off air about the 2007 Breeders' Cup, which turned into a regatta. So you cross your fingers that they got the wet weather out of their system for the fall last weekend.
Yeah, because you look back on that 2007 at Monmouth Park, we were both there, and, you know, it was unfortunate more than anything. You know, it decimated the turf racing. The main track was a swamp. It's championship day, and you want to see the best of the best performers. It wasn't like it was crazy results. A lot of good horses still reported home. You know, Curlin won the Breeders' Cup Classic in that swamp, and English Channel in the turf. I mean, there were quality horses who ran their races still, but, boy, you just like to see it on a fast track and with bright sunny skies for TV, and everybody have their best opportunity for it. Hopefully that's what we get at Del Mar.
You know what I still have as a souvenir of that, Jeremy, is a cough I developed that week that I'm convinced came from a European horse or something, and I've had that dry cough for 14 years since. I have never been able to shake. I've been to every doctor you can imagine, yada, 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 and, you know. So that's my malady that I carry with me from Monmouth in 2007.
I lost a nice pair of shoes that day. I remember that, but I did not pick up a cough.
See, you can theoretically fix a cough, but you can't replace a nice pair of shoes. I mean, seriously. All right. Let's get to this year's pre-entries. As we're recording on Wednesday night, the pre-entries were posted about 8 hours before we got into this, so we've had some time to digest them. My first question for you was, were there any surprises?
No big surprises. I mean, I think you look at a race like the Filly and Mare Sprint with Gamine, and you knew already ahead of time she was scaring off a lot of the fillies from Kentucky, the Bell's the One, Sconsin. You know, they were going to take a little bit easier path and avoid her. You know, of course, we lost the defending champ, Order of Australia, out of the mile. Aidan O'Brien, after the pre-entries were announced, said that she did not come out of her last race well, and, you know, won't go on to defend the title in the Breeders' Cup Mile. So, that, you know, that's a little bit of a surprise. But, no, I don't think there was anything, like, completely out of the ordinary. I don't think there's a whole lot of, is so-and-so going to go in race X or race Y? We don't have a lot of that this year. I don't think there's a lot of crossover. I think these fields look, you know, barring injury, that kind of thing like that, or sickness over the next, you know, week to 10 days, these fields kind of look like we can start to get to work on them.
I'll give you my one surprise, and this is a record year for international horses coming over. 58, I think it is, and we've a record 7 from Japan, so we've got big numbers in terms of international interest, but if you go to the Juvenile Fillies turf, and if you look at the offshore betting markets for the futures, Tenebrism was expected to be coming, Discoveries, Agartha. They were the top 3 betting interests at one bookmaker, and none of them is coming. And I found that interesting. You're looking at a futures betting, and as we were recording, you can still get the favorite Consumer Spending at 8-1. And I think that was, if anything, just getting into the nuts and bolts of the numbers. That was where my surprise was.
Yeah, you know, we had 3 Europeans win the last time the Breeders' Cup was at Del Mar in 2017. It was the only time it was at Del Mar. The East Coast horses came west and did very well. Of course, Gunrunner won the Classic, and Good Magic won the Juvenile. And so, like, the East to West move was good. Mark Cassie brought the horse out, World Approval, who won in the mile. So, you know, Kentucky, New York, they did very well coming west. The Europeans did well coming west to Del Mar, winning 3 times. So it kind of opens it up, you know, and people say, hey, we've got a shot here. This is a track that obviously historically in that one small sample played well to what we could possibly bring. So that might have had a reason why we see the openness of the Europeans. I also think the no Lasix is a situation where we've seen a lot more Europeans come to New York this year. Aidan O'Brien, Godolphin really unloaded this year in New York in the stakes races. I think they believe the level playing field without the Lasix is an encouragement to them, and they're not playing against a stacked deck against the Americans. So I think that brings a more international feel and a larger international representation here. I think that's definitely part of it.
In a way, it's like 2008 and 2009 at Santa Anita, when those were the only 2 years that we had the dirt racing on the artificial surface, the synthetic. And the Europeans came over like crazy, and we saw Ravens Pass win the Classic in that 1 year when they had, I think it was the year of Pro Ride, because they had two different surfaces in 2 different years. But the year the Pro Ride was there, that was a real big European year. And I think there was only one pure dirt horse that won that whole weekend. And I think that was also what scared all of the Breeders' Cup poobahs into making sure it was switched back and that they would never go back to that again. I mean, that makes me think, if the Europeans do too well here, then what happens, right?
Right. Then you have an overreaction the other direction, because that's the way we operate. And, like you talked about, like Pro Ride, there was Cushion Track. There were brands we can't even remember anymore, like offbeat brands of sneakers like Brooks or something. I mean, there's brands of synthetic tracks that we'll never remember again.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Lemon Pledge synthetic track was what really pushed it over the edge. I don't know. That's just me. Let's look at some of the higher profile horses in the grass races. We'll build to our talk about the Classic a little bit. Tarnawa is coming back for Dermot Weld, and she purposely skipped British Champions Day because Weld wanted to target the turf at a climactic point. So she won last year, has come off of each of the last 2 years going on a deep track at Longchamp, and then turning around and coming to what we presume will be a fast track or a firm turf surface at Del Mar. Looking at 3-2 in the futures. But look, Chad Brown's still got domestic spending lurking. Love is still there. I think if the real Love shows up for Aidan O'Brien, you're getting 6-1. That's a nice price. What do you think about the turf field? Is it all about trying to take down Tarnawa?
Yeah, probably. But like you said, the conditions are going to be quite a bit different here. And Del Mar is a real top-of-ground turf course, So, can you get over the top and have that acceleration and turn a foot? You've got a short stretch run at Del Mar, comparatively speaking to a lot of tracks. You're only looking at a 7.5 furlong turf course on the inner oval here. So the stretch run isn't particularly long on the turf. And you've got to get that top-of-ground run. That helps, I think, a little bit domestic spending, in that I don't think he's a true 1.5 mile horse, but I think a non-1.5 mile horse can kind of get it on a course like this a little bit easier than kind of a deep course and one with a really long run into the wire and things like that. So it helps. It's kind of like they say with that downhill turf course at Santa Anita, you can get the 1.25 miles there a little bit easier. Just the way the configuration of the track is and the way it plays. I think you could stretch a horse out to the 1.5 mile turf a little bit easier in this case. So, what you got last year at Keeneland in the fall, similar configuration of the racetracks there, but certainly Keeneland's turf course in the fall had a lot of give to it last year. It does every year in the fall. So you're probably going to get something that's a little more firm and top of ground. So would you take a short price on anyone given that situation? Probably not. Is Tarnawa still the horse to beat? I would say probably so. But if you can get an American in this case, it's a little bit back to, the Johar High Chaparral, right? I mean, on a neutral course, they're probably High Chaparral's a much better horse than Johar. But back in 2003, I'm dating myself. I mean, you and I are referencing a lot of old races.
Yeah, we are.
Back in 2003 at Santa Anita, when we had the dead heat that year, Johar for Mandela was kind of a top-of-ground horse. He got the 1.5 miles, and they ended up in the dead heat that day. And so it closes the gap between the two of them. If you're running at this at Belmont over 1.5 miles this time of year with softer ground, I don't think domestic spending's a 1.5 mile horse against the top Europeans. But at Del Mar with firmer turf, maybe. Maybe, and I think that closes the gap a little bit. Now it's all a judgment of the tote, right? I mean, if you're going to get 3-2 on one horse and 6-1 on the other, and you think the course brings them closer together, then that's a big enough gap in the odds that you take the higher price, you know. But if they're close in price, let's say everybody has the same idea, and Chad Brown's horse Domestic Spending's 3-1, and the other horse is 3-2. Tarnawa was a better horse at 1.5 miles, and the difference between 3-2 and 3-1 is not enough for me to completely flip what I would do in terms of, you know, betting straight up the win. So price sensitive to the turf and see how those prices might close up. There's not a lot from the Americans otherwise, you know. I don't think United, who's back in the turf for the third year, that's his course, you know, West Coast, that kind of deal. I just don't think he's good enough, you know. And so I don't see anybody really else of the Americans other than what we get out of, you know, Domestic Spending. Then it becomes Domestic Spending against a couple Europeans that you mentioned. Love makes a ton of sense. Tarnawa makes a ton of sense. Probably comes down to those two. But we've seen over the years, including last year, often it's not the euro everybody's looking at. It's one of the euros, but the better price. So, you know, dig deeper into the turf and see what the other Europeans are that have come over and see if you can't find somebody else at a little bit better price.
Yeah.
You know, Dermot Weld's got one in there. Roger Varian's got one. Charlie Appleby's got a couple, and Appleby's winning with everything he says to the U.S. over the last 12 months. So, you know, maybe you get away from the defending champ and you get away from Aidan O'Brien, who you know are going to take money. And when you get down to that third, fourth tier, now you start coming up with some conduits and horses like that who have paid nice prices in the Breeders' Cup because they weren't the A-list horse coming over, you know, the first time. So I would say look Europeans, but, you know, be price sensitive to everything when it comes to the Breeders' Cup turf.
Let me pursue that a little bit, too, in a different overarching sense, and we can apply this to the mile and, for that matter, all the grass races. In the mile, you mentioned Charlie Appleby. He has the 5-2 favorite with Space Blues coming over. Mo Forza, the home field advantage with Peter Miller coming in there with Mo Forza at 4-1. Then you got Chad with Blowout, and then the list goes on from there. But that's the specific. The bigger thing is the name that's missing from the European trainers who are coming over is Gosden. John and his son Thady are not bringing any horses when Mishriff could have really made this an interesting day, particularly with a showdown against Tarnawa in the turf. That won't happen now. And he had said all year long that he was reluctant to come over here, especially as you mentioned, the short home stretch at Del Mar. It's a unique circumstance for the European horses, and so I don't want to say he was scared off. I'm just going to say he was prudent because they certainly got the awards and the trophies they wanted, at least for the most part, with Mishriff. But is there a message by Gosden not coming and that Appleby is?
Yeah, and sometimes it's owner-based, right? Appleby's training for Godolphin, and they're more likely to be here, you know, in the Breeders' Cup. Godolphin has really supported the Breeders' Cup over the years. It's races they want to win, and they have made a commitment this year to come over many times with many horses. So, you know, there could be just simply, you know, intent on the ownership group there for part of it. When you talk about the mile, you know, the mile's a different beast than the turf. The turf has been absolutely dominated by the Europeans over the years. The Americans have won the mile far more often, and especially in recent history, than the Europeans have. Now, last year was a total anomaly. The Europeans ran 1, 2, 3 in the turf. That hadn't happened. This is the first time it's happened. They've swept the top 3 spots in the turf. So, you know, if we have the short-term memory and say, oh, the Europeans are just way better than our grass horses, in the mile they haven't been. And we've won the Breeders' Cup mile with some rather suspect horses over the years. You know, we've had some 70-1, you know, Court Vision, horses like that. You know, nobody's ready to put their bust in the Hall of Fame, but they ended up winning on Breeders' Cup Day in the mile. So this is a race where I think, you know, you want to look at the Americans. We talk about the course configuration. We think it'll play pretty fast. You know, World Approval won the mile last time it was at Del Mar. He was a good horse on the East Coast for Mark Casse, who got very good towards the end of that campaign, but he was by no means like a Hall of Fame ballot type of American. He wasn't Wise Dan, you know. He wasn't that kind of runner on the American turf. But in the mile race, I think the Americans are interesting. But the Californians, you look at Mo Forza, he's only run a couple times in 2 years. And the Californians haven't won the Breeders' Cup Mile since Singletary in 2004 at Lone Star. That's the last time a California-based horse won the Breeders' Cup Mile. They just haven't had great milers, So they've had some horses, obviously, and things like that who have run decent in the mile. They went a long way on the front and backed up. Do you trust the form of the Californians just because it's in California? It didn't work at Del Mar the last time in 2017. Again, Cassie came west with a horse who, had run it in the Woodbine Mile and had done all his work on the East Coast. So I think you might look to something from the East Coast, the U.S., coming west, and I think you're going to get a good price because we know the Europeans will get bet. We know horses like Mo Forza are going to get bet. Smooth Like Straight is so consistent. I'm not saying he's going to get bet, but he'll be like a 10, 12 to 1 kind of shot because he's got good form. It's a local track for him. Smooth Like Straight really kind of runs his race all the time. Space Blues, the European, he's all 6-7 furlongs. He's not really even a miler.
That's
he's kind of a long-term sprinter. And most of the races, I'll have to go back and do the research on the courses, but I would reckon that of his 6 and 7 furlong races, the vast majority of them are straights, much less a 2-turn mile. So he's got to make 2 left turns in here at what'll be probably an underlay price. I think you want to look at some of the Americans coming west. You've got Blowout, Casa Creed, just looking at the entries. Raging Bull. So you've got a couple Chad Browns there, basically, and Casa Creed. So you got two Chad Browns and a Bill Mott coming west from New York. That's not a bad way to go in the grass in the U.S. on one of these big race days. I think that's kind of the ballpark. And now start evaluating those horses out of those 3, 4, that kind of fit that mold. Who's working the best? Who offers the best price? Who draws well? But one thing about the mile is, everybody does it every single year. Oh, so-and-so drew the 12. So-and-so drew the 13, the 14. 12, 13, and 14s are all over the tickets. Go back and look at the charts for the Breeders' Cup Mile over the years. Almost every year there's somebody from 12, 13, 14 winning, second, third, sometimes 2 out of 3, a lot of times at prices. The big mistake you can do is throw a horse out based on post-draw in the Breeders' Cup Mile. It just statistically hasn't fared well. Now, if you like a horse, like let's say you like Blowout, that turns out to be the one you like, and you think, he's probably about a 12 to 1 shot in this race. He draws the 13 hole, and everybody says, Blowout can't win from there. All of a sudden, he's 18 or 20 to 1. You should be happier about that. The numbers tell you that's not a big deal. I mean, there have been plenty of double-digit saddle cloths winning in Breeders' Cup Mile over the years. So, sit back, see what happens with the horses that you like. But, an East Coast horse coming west might be the profile once again for the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Since Goldikova's three-peat, European horses in the mile, or at least Europeans in the mile, 2 for 10. Expert Eye in 2018, Order of Australia at 71 to 1 last year were the exceptions. Otherwise, like you said, Americans were winners in those years 8 out of 10 times. So that's something with which to take heed. Let me touch on one more turf race here, and then we'll get to the main track. The Filly and Mare Turf, this is where Japan is going to make a lot of noise with numbers of horses. But in terms of quality of horses, it might be a one-horse circumstance. But this is the one horse. Love's Only You coming in here. 5-year-old mare. She's been mixing it up with some of the best in the world. She lost to Mishrif by only a half length in the Dubai Shima. She's second off a layoff coming in here after finishing second in her comeback race at home in a Group 1 or a Group 2, actually, back home. So how seriously do you take Love's Only You?
I'm on the show because I'm supposed to, follow the racing and know what's going on, and I do in America. When it comes to the European shippers to the Breeders' Cup, I'm typically these last 10 days of research is spent on them the most because, these are the horses I'm trying to catch up with. Not that we don't know who won these races and who's got the resume and the past performances, but who did they beat? Because like a lot of times I see, okay, so-and-so won X race, but who was behind them? And that takes a lot of work to kind of go back and, Racing Post I used a lot for the career records and stuff. So I'm going and looking and seeing who the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, who are the 9 horses that were behind this European shipper, and say, Well, what did they win before? What did they win since? Trying to get a sense of strength of schedule, because it's so hard to do with the Europeans. Now take it up a factor of 5 with a horse from Japan, because there's really a whole nother level of uncertainty, and I'll just be honest, now the international races that you're talking about, with this filly Loves Only You, those are the ones we get to evaluate and feel 50% comfortable with. But evaluating the races from Japan, I'll be honest with you, it becomes a coin flip. I don't know. And so, like I mentioned earlier, is price dependency that's the key to all gambling anyway, right? I don't care if you're talking football or whatever, right? So if you've got an inkling for a horse from Japan and you're getting 20 to 1, I'm not going to stop you. If you've got an inkling on a horse from Japan and you're getting 7 to 2, I'm going to recommend you just put your research into another basket, that you can't feel confident enough to me to come to 7 to 2 on a horse from Japan coming over here for the Breeders' Cup. Can you get to 10 to 1, 15? Make a fair odds line. Assess the horses, make a fair odds line in your head, and stick to it. That would be my recommendation with some of these horses. And I'll say, there's 14 races in the Breeders' Cup, right, Ron? We don't have to empty our wallet on all 14 of them.
Right.
So if there are places and pockets of uncertainty that you have, they become your fun money races or your passes and skips, and say, you know what, if I'm normally a $50 a race better, I'm afraid of the Japanese horse, but it's too low of a price to bet. I really don't have an opinion on somebody else. Skip this race and bet 100 on the next one that you do like, and I think that's the way you've kind of got to look at it. Look, there are people way smarter than me, especially when it comes to international racing. If you've got a good grasp on the international racing and you feel this is where you have an edge and you like a horse from Japan or Europe, then that's your edge. That's where you press it, and go after it. But me personally, there's 14 races, 150 horses, or however many we're looking at over the course of all these fields. There's some that I'm just not going to get to a comfort level with of feeling like I understand them enough.
Oh, understood. And that's why at Horse Racing Nation we go after guys like Nicholas Godfrey, who's writing a couple pieces for us from England, because he watches those horses all the time professionally. And so I'll urge you to go look at that. That's a plug. Plugs are us. I know that Jeremy has something else to plug, and that has to do with XBTV and with First Bet, our sponsor, and the Breeders' Cup Guide that he's going to be a big part of. So we'll talk to him about that on the other side. We'll also talk to him about some of the 2-year-old races and certainly about the Breeders' Cup Classic. So that's just ahead. Coming up in between time, though, we are going to hear from Wayne Catalano, who has Aloha West in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Long shot there, but we'll get his views on his return to the Breeders' Cup. And as I mentioned earlier, I had to recreate the questions because of the mic problem, so you know that. And, oh, yeah, did I make a mistake when I interviewed Mark Cassie, the Hall of Fame trainer? He'll have Papa Cap in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He has Grafton Street and Coinage in the Juvenile Turf. And he has Got Stormy, the great mare, in the Breeders' Cup Mile. The great mare. Bear that in mind as I left my little boo-boo in the interview that we did last week. Well, I had Horse Racing Nation on the brain. Well, I do since I work there. If you're looking for that extra help finding a winner this weekend or during the Breeders' Cup, how about checking out Power Picks from HRN and start winning today? Horse Racing Nation's advanced computer algorithm weighs 14 predictive factors. 14! I'd tell you what they are, but I don't have them listed in front of me. They isolate top contenders in each race, ranked top to bottom. So whether you're handicapping, say, Keeneland, or Santa Anita, or Belmont Park, or maybe a smaller track, there are power picks for every track every day, and that includes the Breeders' Cup next week. Monthly subscriptions are available for only $19.99. That's right, every track every day for only $19.99 a month. And if you check out Horse Racing Nation Power Picks today at picks.horseracingnation.com, you can use the coupon code RONPOD and get 25% off your first order right now. So that would knock it down from what? To a little less than $15 a month for your first order? If I do the math right, that's what, 50 cents a day to get this service. 50 cents! Why would you not do this? Picks.horseracing.nation.com. Coupon code RONPOD.
From trainers to jockeys, from horse owners to racing personalities, you'll hear them all on the Ron Flatter Racing Pod via vsin.com. Sponsored by First Bet.
Wayne Catalano. I always ask this question. Where do I find you today?
I'm at Keelan Racetrack.
It's a nice place to be. Nice place to be. Let me ask you something about Aloha West. It's been 10 years since you've won a Breeders' Cup race, but this horse looks, from finishing second in the Phoenix Stakes right there at Keeneland, like you could have a live one for the sprint. How seriously do you think Aloha West will be in contention against the likes of Jackie's Warrior and Dr. Shivel and Special Reserve?
Well, he would have beat Special Reserve. We just didn't get the perfect trip. Right. Kind of misjudged the turn there. And he got killed at the gate. But, no, I think the horse has got a great shot. I like the horse a lot. He's training. It's probably one of the best horses I've ever had my hands on. And I like the way he's training right now.
I was just going to say, you talk about some of the best you've had your hands on. As we look specifically at him, I mean, tell me how he has progressed in the time that you have had him.
Well, he was a lightly raced horse, a young horse. He got to running pretty doggone good there, and he just found his stride lately. His numbers very much improved, and horse is learning what the game is all about.
He did win a couple of allowance races, actually, 3 of them after breaking his maiden. Did you see anything in him in that first stakes race that he had this summer toward the end of the meet at Churchill that suggested to you that he could be better than what he's shown up until this point?
Well, the Churchill race is kind of like his little experiment without running him on Lace X and stuff. And he had a little bout with bleeding a little bit. And we got him on some special herbs and special medicine, and it kind of helped him out. We put him on the twiddle, and it really made a big difference in his performance and not bleeding. So I think we got that. We should be in good shape in that area.
Well, thanks for bringing this up, because it didn't even occur to me until now, but now that we're talking about it, 10 years ago, you weren't having to deal with weaning horses off of Lasix, and now you do. How big a challenge is that?
Well, it's a challenge for everybody.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everybody's in the same boat now, but we got this European product that we've been using on these horses, and it seemed to work very, very well. So this horse responded. Not all horses respond to everything. You know how that goes. But he's responding to it good. He's training great. He's worked back yesterday, day before, and he worked lights out, looking great. I'm very happy with him. He learned how to run, and it makes a big difference.
Well, he's going to go to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. When do you ship to Del Mar?
I believe I'm going to ship on the 28th. Try to give him a little more time over there.
And who will you have riding him?
Jose Ortiz is supposed to ride him back. Okay. He knows him now. He knows he probably should have won the race.
Okay.
And so he's a great rider, and he knows the horse, and he'll have a lot of confidence in him. And we felt that we would just stay with him.
You've won Breeders' Cups with Stephanie's Kitten and Dreaming of Anna and She Be Wild. Where would this achievement rank with those when you consider how much of a late bloomer this one is?
Well, anytime you win a Breeders' Cup, it's great. They're not easy to win, as you said. We hadn't won one in a while. We never had a lot of chances, but we're going back there this year with a live horse, and it's always great to go to the Breeders' Cup with a horse that's live. And just to get to the Breeders' Cup and these big races, it's accomplishment in itself. So we're happy with all that, and we're looking for our 4th Breeders' Cup.
What about for you in terms of when you ship out there? When will you go?
I haven't made it, but it won't be too far behind him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you made your dinner plans yet and social plans for out there? Or are you going to be up so early that you got to go back to bed early?
Well, we'll get out a little bit. We'll get out a little bit.
I hope so.
Life's too short. We have to go out and enjoy it a little bit. So we'll get out a little bit. We'll have one horse, and that makes it easier. But the one horse sometimes takes a lot of work, more than 20 horses.
Yeah. Especially if you've got a handful with that horse. Is this horse pretty easy to deal with?
He is. He's not too bad. He used to be pretty anxious, but now he's starting to settle and starting to learn his job. And, he's got a hang of the game, and it makes it a little easier. And he can run. So horse that can run makes your job a lot easier.
I saw you a lot at Arlington those last 2 big days there on Million Day and, of course, Closing Day. And we really never had a chance to chat other than just a passing hi and hello and greetings and such. What are your thoughts now that we're about a month since Arlington closed and we now know the Chicago Bears are going to have the property?
Well, we're not giving up hope yet. We still got a little bit of hope there. We're hoping that they come together and maybe they can have both. I don't know what the whole play is there, but I've been in Kentucky for about 10 years now. Whenever they started taking that thing down, things started going down a little bit, and they slightly racing. And, it took me more to Kentucky. So, we've been in Kentucky for a little while now. Well, but Chicago's home. I got a beautiful place over there, and we're going to stay home right there. And we'll be racing here in Kentucky year-round with the Purses Van Big and Kentucky Downs in Purses Turfway. So, there's a lot of reasons to be in Kentucky year-round.
Yeah, the Purses getting bumped up at Turfway, that was kind of a nice piece of news for horsemen, wasn't it?
It is. And Kentucky's a great horse country, as everybody knows.
Oh, yeah.
So we're happy to be here. We've been pretty fortunate, have some good people and some good horses, and, we had some pretty good success down here.
Well, amen to that. You're coming up on, or not too far from 3,000 wins for your career. You've already crossed $70 million in earnings, so pretty tall cotton, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? Like I said, once again, we had some very good clients, and we've been blessed with some good horses and some good clients and some great opportunities. And, and the help has been wonderful. You can't do it by yourself. So we got good people to get us along the way. We happy with the position that we're in right now. Going back to the Breeders' Cup and the live horse is a big thing for me and my operation.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you out there, Wayne. Hopefully we'll be able to chat a little bit, other than just shop talk, and always look forward to seeing you. Thanks for your time here on the Ron Flatter Racing Pod.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Okay, the same day that we talked to Wayne, we talked to Mark Cassie. This was last Thursday. And, of course, 4 horses for the Breeders' Cup for the Hall of Famer, including one particular mare. Ron. Mark, where do I find you today?
I'm in Ocala at our training center.
Okay. Got Stormy has certainly been a guy who's delivered very well in Grade 1 races. The 4-Star Dave most recently, as far as a Grade 1 victory, was 6th in the turf sprint at Kentucky Downs, but looking to get back to the Breeders' Cup for the 3rd time, finished 2nd in the Breeders' Cup Mile a couple of years ago, and now back there again. So how does he look going there, and what is your scouting report for him?
Well, she's doing great. She's 1 for 1 there at Del Mar. And for Got Stormy, it's a lot about she likes tighter turns. That's why she's done so well at Saratoga in the 4-Star Dave. And like I said, she's 1 for 1 at Del Mar. So I think she's training very well. She's happy. And if she comes with her A game, she's going to be very competitive.
Yeah, by the way, thank you for making it as she. I have no adjustment of your horses necessary. We are talking about a mare here, if I can get that right for once. As far as going to the Breeders' Cup with her, and you've done this now, here she is 6 years old. Does going to the Breeders' Cup with her and knowing what she can do and how she will act around the crowds and everything, does that give you any kind of an advantage with a horse with that experience in this kind of a setting?
Well, there are definitely some horses that will react to that type of setting. She's obviously not one of them. She's an old pro. She's been everywhere, so it gives us a little advantage.
What do you take out of the turf sprint at Kentucky Downs in terms of whether you'd say, okay, this happened, that happened, what happened there that she finished 6th that you would say, okay, we can get around that?
Well, I knew going in, the question was I wanted to get a race into her. I didn't want to go off of, I think it was going to be 8 weeks or something. I didn't want to do that. I knew that it would be soft at Keeneland, so I didn't want to run her in the First Lady. I was kind of hoping that we would get a little cut in the ground for the sprint, because she's fast, but she's not, 3/4 of a mile fast. That's one thing. She's fast, but she's not fast like that. And so what we needed was some cut in the ground, and we got the exact opposite. It was hard as a rock, and they just ran too fast.
But
that's not her cup of tea.
How will Del Mar be different then? Because we could figure it's probably going to be pretty firm there.
Oh, it'll be firm, but it's a mile. So she doesn't mind the firm. It just, it was so hard and so fast. There's just some fast horses that kept running. In the mile at Del Mar, like I said, she loves the sharp turns. So she's going to get 2 of them. She's going to be able to, she moves up on the turns and she makes her big move around the far turn, and she's going to have that. And it's really perfect distance for a perfect type of setup with the sharper turns.
Let's switch to the 2-year-olds, and on the Friday of Breeders' Cup week, you're going to have 3 of them going. One of them will be in the juvenile. On the dirt is Papa Cap, and not only is he 11-1 for this race in terms of futures betting by Gunrunner, but also 35-1 for the Kentucky Derby. So there are some bettors who are looking long on this guy, coming off of the second-place finish in the American Pharos. So are you as bullish on him as some bettors are?
I am. I think he's an extremely talented horse. He had some things go against him the other day when he ran in the American Pharos. He was kind of parked wide. I would say to you that the bettors that are betting on him are probably Ragusan or Thoroughgraph people that know. He ran 45 feet farther than the winner, which equated, he got beat 3 lengths. So I would say our Thoroughgraph number is probably even better than the winner. To me, looking at how the race is going to set up, you got Chad's horse coming from New York.
Yeah, Jack Christopher. Yeah.
Jack Christopher. He's extremely fast. You've got Bob's Colt, who's very fast.
Corniche.
I'm hoping Corniche. I'm hoping to see him hook up, and we can sit back and hopefully that softens him up. And I think our horse has a really big chance. I do.
Yeah, it's going to be an entertaining race just the way it's shaping up on paper if it comes out that way. Anything like that on the dirt at Del Mar, it's going to be very, very fun to watch. You got a couple in the juvenile turf with Coinage and Grafton Street. And so Grafton Street coming off a second-place finish in the Summer Stakes at Woodbine, and Coinage highlighted with a very busy year already with a win in the Grade 3 with Anticipation at Saratoga. This is going to be his 6th race. So how do you look at those two coming into the juvenile turf?
Yeah, I like that. I like getting starts in my horses. I thought Coinage's race was really good at Saratoga when he won with Anticipation, and I can't think of the horse's name, but Chad's horse, who was second to him, came back and ran a really good second in the Pilgrim. So it looks like a good race. He had a million things go wrong. We took him over to Monmouth. He got it was just crazy from the beginning. He kind of lost it. There were at Monmouth, you have to walk down the track to the paddock, and there were kids running around screaming and yelling and got him all wound up. And he had a lot of things going on. Then he stumbled at the start. And so his last race wasn't a true indication of his ability. If he brings back his with Anticipation race, so much, especially I've learned this over the years, but with these Breeders' Cup juvenile races with the Colts and the fillies, you need a good post position. Twice I've went out to California with fillies that were favorites for the Breeders' Cup and drew the outside, and it's a killer. So we need a good post position. If he gets a good post position, he's going to run well.
And it's hard to tell sometimes at Del Mar. I mean, we know there were the whole back in 2017, the rail was the big question mark, and did anybody want to be there? And Of course, the 2-year-old races are on Friday. The turf races obviously are a different animal altogether, but you don't have a lot of time to go to school on that track when you're racing the 2-year-olds, and they're just there on that first day, right?
Right. Well, everybody's there's no home field advantage, which is kind of nice. But we've already got Coinage. He's out in California already. I wanted to get him out and settle him a little bit. He is by Tappet. His mom won the Breeders' Cup, but won it on the dirt. But got him out there so he could adjust. And like I said, I've always been really high on Coinage. He just needs, he had nothing go his way last time. We just need him to behave and get a good break and see what happens.
Yeah, Coinage out of Bar of Gold. And that was the one from the filly and mare sprint that delivered at 66-1 at Del Mar back in November of 2017. Yeah, I remember that. I'm still seeing the, you could see tumbleweeds going by the windows after that race, Mark.
Yes,
It's one of those circumstances.
I remember I was there. I remember I didn't know I would be training one of her sons, but yeah.
Isn't that something? One other thing I wanted to ask you about, you've won 13 Sovereign Awards training in Canada, but I can imagine since COVID began and since the restrictions on travel between here and Canada have been so tight, what kind of a challenge has it been for you to run a campaign up at Woodbine in 2021? Well,
we're fortunate. Everybody that works for us in Canada, they worked for us for years, are all Canadian. So that hasn't been an issue. Our people are there. It's been a struggle. We do have some people, some Canadians that come and help us sometimes in the U.S. That hasn't happened. We can't do that. So the travel of the horses back and forth has not been an issue. It's just we can't move any people. I have 3 kids that are born in Canada, and they haven't been able to even come and visit us in the U.S. now.
Oh, my
it's
goodness.
Going on almost 2 years, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How old are they?
Yeah. Well, they're older. They're married and stuff. So, but I mean, they haven't been able to come visit us in the U.S. So.
Oh my goodness, that's such a tough thing to consider. I mean, you and I, we've lived a little bit, but for anybody around that age, you just feel badly for some of the opportunities they're not going to get back. This is what's.
Well, and so many different things, and you see it. You see it in kids that are going to high school, and a lot of them weren't able to play their sports their senior years, and those. So there's a lot of. It's not been easy, but just hopefully we've fought through it. We got to keep continuing.
Amen to that. Mark, when do you arrive at Del Mar?
I'm going to be at Del Mar on the 29th. We've got Spanish Love Affair runs, I can't remember the name of the stake at Santa Anita on the 30th, which is a Saturday, so I'll be there for that. And then we move our horses from Santa Anita to Del Mar on the 31st.
Okay, and do you have jockey assignments yet for the 4 horses for the Breeders' Cup?
So we have Tyler Gaffleone rides Godstormy and Grafton Street. Florent rides Coinage, and Joe Bravo rides Papa Cap.
Excellent. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you out there. It'll be a busy time. It already is. Look, I know for guys like you, there's no vacations, and the horses don't know how busy it's supposed to be. So thanks for taking a little time today and getting us up to date. Mark Cassidy, appreciate your time here on the Ron Flatter Racing Pod.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, we're back to Jeremy next.
Good afternoon. Would you like to try a free sample of our double fudge brownie?
Oh, sure. That's very good. I'll just take one more. Just to be sure. Yep, still very good.
Some things never change, like never being able to take just one free sample. And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
Is that macadamia nut I taste? Let me take one more.
Sir?
Yeah. I thought so.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
The Real Time Crime Podcast isn't just for the true fans of true crime. It's for people who have an obsession.
Why do I obsess over true crime? It's because I need to know every detail of every single story, because they say that the devil's in the details. So we're going to find out who's the devil here.
Join Leah Lamar and Teddy Mellencamp for an iHeartRadio original podcast dedicated to the passion of every armchair detective.
I will go down any rabbit hole and dig down any crime, because I will do your dirty work on any topic involving any bad guy.
Embark on a quest to unravel unsolved mysteries and delve into current criminal trials in real time. Each week, Lamar and Mellencamp are joined by investigative professionals who will reveal the inner workings of crime solving and criminal justice.
And we are all obsessed with this case, right?
Beyond obsessed with this case.
Beyond obsessed.
Listen to Real Time Crime on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I want to get back to being in my community group.
I want to continue having a soccer season.
So I can throw parties again.
So I can go to her parties.
It'd really be nice to dine in instead of getting delivery for a change.
So I can feel safe and protected for myself and my students.
We each have our own reason for why we're getting vaccinated against COVID-19. What will yours be? Visit getvaccineanswers.org for information on the COVID-19 vaccines. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Help us spread the word about what you're hearing. Write us a review at Apple Podcasts. Now, back to the Ron Flatter Racing Pod via vsin.com. Sponsored by First Bet.
Continuing with Jeremy Plunk, you know him from XBTV. And Jeremy, I want to get into the dirt races. I want to talk a little bit about juveniles, but I know you want to talk a little bit about something you have coming up at XBTV.
Well, yeah, we've got our Breeders' Cup wager guide from First and Express Bet. You can download that. First.com/guide. It's as simple as that. Check it out. We've got all 14 divisions lined up. Analysts from across the First racing family, all the track analysts you're used to in Florida and California and Northern California and Maryland with the First family of handicappers, plus all of our XBTV on-air racing analysts and more. Our great columnists from Express Bet, Johnny D. and John White, and some of the senior members of our staff, Jeff Siegel, of course. So a great Breeders' Cup wager guide. You'll be able to check it all out. It is ready on Friday, October the 29th, and then it will be updated on Thursday, November 4th, right before the Breeders' Cup. So it gives you a chance to see what we're thinking as the pre-entries are out and as we get into this long-form handicapping, and then you'll get a chance to get the final picks from everybody, as well as that First Bet artificial intelligence handicapping information. That data will be available just before the Breeders' Cup starts, so we redo the guide with an updated version on November 4th, and we'll have all that computerized data in there for you as well. Hey, Ron, I feel for you with the God Stormy.
God,
you know,
I'm going to be tattooed with that now.
hey, you just went he, she. I've called Got Stormy, Get Stormy 10 times over the last year, and I get those two turfers confused all the time. And so, look, it happens, but we've got a lot of horses to assess for this year's Breeders' Cup. If we're going to get stuck on pronouns, we're in trouble.
Yeah, well, and not just with horses, right? I mean, you know, we're sorting out a lot now in the 21st century, and God bless us. But thank you again. I appreciate that. The address again?
First.com/guide.
Okay, and since we're posting on Friday, it should be available to you as you hear this. So, and click away for those updates. That's the great thing about digital publications. That if you need to make an update or fix, click it, come back to it, and it'll be there, and it'll be nice and clean and perfect for you. Let's get to the dirt races. In particular, I want to look first at the juvenile, and then we'll go back to the biggest ones as they build to those. Where have we heard this before, Jeremy? A horse from the East with the word Jack in his name is the end-all, be-all, look at those buyers, and then it's like, there's this other one over here, essential quality, schmality, Corniche, Borniche. But here's the difference. I'm pointing this out again. The horses from the East, in this case now we're going to talk about Jack Christopher, like Jackie's Warrior last year, has not gone 2 turns. Corniche, like Essential Quality did last year, has. So is the hype surrounding Jack Christopher too much going into the juvenile?
Yes. He's bred to be a sprinter. He's by Munnings out of a half-hour's mare. That's sprinter on sprinter. There is nothing but sprint in the pedigree. His races have been outstanding. I was like everybody else excited to see his debut when he ran off in the debut at Saratoga at 6-5. The Champagne at one turn obviously played to his strength. He's a fast horse. He ran off and won that day. But if you look at the Briss late pace figure, something that I take a look at a lot, I think of all the numbers in past performances, it's one that I kind of trust because there's no human manipulation to it and there's no jockey intent involved. The late pace figure is what you got left in the tank. How fast did you run at the end of the race? It's not, early pace figures, sometimes they all go dawdling out there in a half and 50 and nobody's going to get a fast figure. Everybody's trying at the end unless you're just wrapped up with a front runner who stopped. So I like the Briss late pace figures, and they're often a great telltale on how much further a horse is going to go. Jack Christopher got an 80 going a mile. That is slow. When you talk about some of the other horses in here, you want to see 90s, 100, something like that for these 2-year-olds. It's what really made Essential Quality stand out last year. Maxfield the year before in terms of like some really good 2-year-olds who turned out to be good horses down the road at some better distances. That's not a big enough number, I don't think, to deliver, especially in a Breeders' Cup Juvenile for Jack Christopher that also includes Corniche and Pinehurst, who are Bob Baffert West Coast speed. You've got a lot of pace in this year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I think they'll go exceptionally fast in here. Giant Game, from the East Coast will kind of – and Jasper Great, the horse from Japan. Now, this race I have done a little extra research on compared to some that we've talked about to this point because the Juvenile is my race in the first and Express Bet Breeders' Cup Wager Guide. This is my division. Last year we had Essential Quality, so happily took the $11 mutual there. So I've done more research on this race than some to this point, and I went back and watched Jasper Great's race in Japan. This horse went wire to wire, went right up to the front and took him all the way at 1 mile and an eighth. I'm not saying he's got West Coast speed, but he's by Arrogant out of Shop Again, who was a nice Alan Jerkins horse. This is American pedigree and American speed, and he ran like an American in the debut. Jasper Great, I'm not saying he's going to win this race, but he could be in the mix too. So that adds another speed element. Usually you think your horse from overseas is going to get out-footed early, right, and not be part of the pace. This horse has American pedigree and an American running style in the one race we can see, and again, shot right to the front and was 3 lengths in front all the way and then drew off at the end to win by 10. So if Jasper Great's part of the pace, Corniche is part of the pace, Jack Christopher's part of the pace, Pinehurst is part of the pace, this race sets up to me for a closer, and I'll tell you what, I'll scoop it here first because it'll actually be in the guide before this podcast comes out. But Oviatt Class is going to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Third place finisher in the not the Chandelier, but the American Pharoah Stakes, the Colts version. Rallied for third in that race. Go back and look in Breeders' Cup history. I'm part of this. We've talked about it in every division. This is Texas Red all over again. I had Texas Red that year at 15-1 when he came from last and won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile by daylight. I see the same kind of thing. Oviatt Class broke his maiden at Del Mar. He's got to win over the track around 2 turns, and he beat a couple short-priced Bob Bafferts that day to do so. Then he came back in the American Pharoah and ran third. Watch the replay of the American Pharoah Stakes, and don't watch the NBC replay. Watch the Santa Anita replay, because the NBC replay cuts off after they go past the wire. The Santa Anita replay takes him into the gallop out. This horse gallops out and blows by everybody. He rallies for third. He must have closed 15 lengths in the race, Oviatt Class. He was way behind. He finishes in the photo for second, gallops out. By the time they hit the clubhouse turn, he's 3 in front of Corniche. And this horse is going to come with a semi-truck rally, a 102 Briss late pace figure when he ran third last time. 102. That was behind a 47 and 1/2. So they went a legitimate half. See, a lot of times you'll get a good late pace figure when they go really slow, right? Slow, and then they all accelerate. This horse in a fairly fast-paced race, 47 and 1 opening weekend at Santa Anita, was a solid pace that Corniche set that day. He got a 102 late pace figure with that. I love him. It is Texas Red all over again. And guess who the trainer-jockey combo is? The DeSormo brothers, just like Texas Red. This sets up for a replay. Texas Red won at 15-1. Oviatt Class is going to be every bit of that, if not more.
And more.
Because when you've got – yeah, he's going to be more than that. He'll be closer to 30-1.
Yeah.
And look,
Jeremy, he's 22-1 in futures right now.
I think you'll get 20-31 on him on race day. And look at this. Hang on, I got to pull this stat up.
Okay.
The average winner in a California-based Breeders' Cup Juvenile is $25. We've had 53, 65, and $93 upsets in Southern California in the Juvenile. You know what? California is known for its speed. These are 2-year-olds who are untested at the distance or around 2 turns in a lot of cases. It has an incinerator feel about it. And, a couple years ago, everybody thought, it's Dennis's moment in these horses. And then, Storm the Court wins the thing at 40 to 50-1. This is the kind of juvenile I think we might be looking at again because of the pace situation. Jack Christopher, I don't think can get the distance. Corniche is the best of the speed horses. Make no mistake. He doesn't have a big flaw in his resume. I don't see anything there, but he's got other competition up front. And a horse, I think, again, this horse has to make up. What did he get beat by him in the he's got to make up 3 3/4 lengths is all Oviatt Class got beat by Corniche last time. Can the other speed horses in the race soften up the favorite enough to make up 3 3/4 lengths? We're not trying to make up 15. We're trying to make up 3 3/4. I think for the price, again, this is all price dependent. You want Corniche at 8-5, 9-5, battling for favoritism with Jack Christopher, or do you want a horse at 30-1? So my lips are juicy and being licked right now. I mean, I'm waiting for this Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Man, juicy lips. I will say one more thing about the 2-year-olds. This is something we researched here recently between VSiN and Horse Racing Nation. That if you're looking for last-out wins to be compelling for races, doesn't apply in the Breeders' Cup so much. Flip of a coin, in the dirt races, a little more than 50% of the winners were winners last out in a prep, and in the turf races, a little less than that. But with the 2-year-old races, far more important, 2 out of every 3 winners had a last-out win coming in. And so something to watch for just as one more thing, another pepper in the gumbo, Jeremy.
Absolutely. And look, if you don't want to take the huge leap on the big price, this is the kind of horse, Oviatt Class, that you need for the Exactas, Tries, and Supers to spruce them up. If you like one of the Baffert, Chad Brown, big bangers in here, and you can get that 30-1 second or third, you might be turning $200 out of 2 in this race still, even with one of those low-priced horses on top. So a very useful horse, I think, in this year's Juvenile.
Let me take care of 2 of the dirt races. I don't want to have nothing left on the bone. Your colleagues, Jeff Siegel and Zoe Cadman, are going to join me next week at this time. So we'll have a lot left for them. But I want to talk about the Distaff and the Classic. And the Distaff is supposed to be the coronation for Latruska, and she will win, and she'll be the horse of the year. And it'll be a lovely story with Fausto Gutierrez and the horse of a lifetime for him. Or will it? And in the Classic, of course, we've got the 2 Brad Cox horses with Nix Go, who's never gone 1.25 miles, and Essential Quality, who might be looking for some revenge for not having won the big race of the year back in May, but has won the Belmont and the Travers. What are your thoughts about those 2 dirt races? Or for that matter, if you've got any overarching thoughts about all the dirt races that are going to be happening on Saturday?
Well, the one thing about the Distaff is, Baffert's got 2 in here, and they're both fast. As time goes by, and Private Mission are both fast. She Dares the Devil is fast. We know that she went with Latruska eye to eye in some races earlier this year. If you're going to beat Latruska, it has to happen that way, right?
Yep. Yes.
What didn't happen was Ball Dancing didn't break and didn't go to the lead at all in the Spinster, and it just became a carousel around the track for Latruska to parade around there and get the Grade 1 win. She's a very deserving Grade 1 winner, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that last race was the perfect scenario for her, and she's never going to give up that kind of advantage unless something goes amiss with her. She's not going to have that kind of advantage in this particular race, and especially when one trainer's got 2 of the speed horses. Maybe one doesn't break or what your intentions are, but I would have to think there's going to be some company up front. So Latruska is going to have to earn it. She very well could. She could absolutely win this race easily. I mean, she's been bet to favoritism, 5, 6, 7 times in a row at very short prices. But you do have 2 Kentucky Oaks winners in here. You've got Malathot from this year. You've got She Dares the Devil from last year. They have a little bit